almost didn't throw the white flag. I was going to give you one more lap.
The 9 running on the tires. He'll slide up off of turn number 4, Jerry. You've got a new race leader, Matthew Loeb. Your race leader with 4 laps to go.
All right, who told you to tell that joke?
It seems like forever ago we were here, but now it is time to reunite the family and bring you all of our words of not so great Wahoo wisdom on the DirtCast.
Jerry,
Today we'll talk about a lot of nothing.
What are you talking about?
What? Wahoo has words of wisdom. Did you not see it during Super Nationals?
I think every other word was the F word.
Yeah, he's...
Which we said 3 or 4 times last episode.
Yeah, you guys got all F-worded up.
I said it once. I had a reason to say it. And then you guys all just started saying it.
I don't think I said
that caused Nate all kinds of editing problems, just for the record.
Well, so he actually had to work on this podcast?
He actually had to. We had to get like special permission from the president.
Edit it?
God, Jim, here you go.
Yeah. Since last episodes, Nate has had 17 more children, and Jim has learned how to use the F word.
What are we going to talk about today? This is only our 12th episode.
Yeah, you're slacking.
No.
You're in charge of making the schedule for this thing.
I am in this office nearly every day if I'm not on vacation.
That's a lot, too. I see when you go on vacation.
I don't go on vacation.
You know, I think that the people want more.
Well, more what?
Yeah,
more what?
The people have spoken. Do we
more
have a place where they can
podcasts,
vote?
less Jerry.
Vote for more podcasts. More podcasts, less Jerry.
Yes.
That is. Can I vote for that?
Really?
Which reminds me,
I'm
we
right
have to
here.
have this. We have to wait for you to come to this podcast.
You don't have to wait for me. We waited today
I hope
for
you feel special. I hope you feel special. No, we only had 12 podcasts because you're too busy.
No, because it never gets brought up.
Everybody knows I'm not busy.
That's fine.
I'm mowing my yard or I'm on vacation. That's what I do.
Or siding.
Or siding. Yeah, I have been doing some siding. Getting to the dangerous part now.
You siding your house?
Uh-huh.
Oh, no. Are you going to plant some trees?
It's been like a 4-year project. My siding is like a 4-year project. It's one of those things where hopefully the color doesn't change.
Sort of like your pilot's license endeavor.
I mean, if you just call someone, they will come and do it in 4 days.
2010. I remember when I did that. 14 years later, I'm still a student pilot.
I mean, if you call somebody, they can come have it done in like 4 days.
I know, but I'm kind of a tightwad.
Oh, we know.
Exactly.
He likes to do his own projects.
It's like getting an announcer's booth remodeled at this Boone Speedway.
Yeah.
I'll get to it. Just got to be patient.
I saw a schedule of things to be done.
Don't hold
we were
your
on the
breath.
12th.
Yeah,
12th page.
That new month of never.
Yeah.
prima donna announcers.
Hey, since our last podcast, we have crowned some national champions.
We have.
Season is over.
So it's now official, right?
It is official, yes, October 14th.
Because people kept putting the unofficial stuff out.
Yeah. I mean, we've tightened it up a little bit. It used to be a month. We used to give people a month. Can you believe that? A month
think about it?
to think about whether their points are right or not. We tightened it up to 2 weeks this year. Points ended last full weekend in September.
29th or something like that.
Gave everybody 2 basically 10 work days to tell us if there's something wrong. And Virginia and Kim do a great job reaching out to racetracks and saying, hey, there's some indiscrepancies here. Why are your points a little different than ours? And it becomes a lot of work, actually, for them to go back and say, oh, wait, especially the 1 or 2 point situations where potentially you have a guy that was docked maybe 2 positions and it didn't get correctly recorded or reported differently before it happened. All that weird stuff that pops up. But then you get the big ones where, they're like 100 points different between the track points and ours that starts becoming problematic.
How does that happen?
Tracks actually use on MRP. They may use a different point system, they make heat race points pops up.
Oh yeah, because they may do that like a championship deal to where their track points are different than their national points.
It seems like if you go back maybe a dozen years or so, like there was a lot more racetracks that had a varying point system. But most of the racetracks that obviously that sanction with us, they have to use our point system, but they use it for their other divisions too a lot of times. So there's some consistency across what their scorers are doing or their point people are doing, what they're putting on MRP or what they're using for MRP, because MRP obviously can be modified to use all different kinds of point systems. So there's always a few discrepancies. So it takes a few days for Kim and Virginia to go through I don't know how many hundreds of champions we've crowned this year. I think we ordered jackets.
Around 600, isn't it?
Yeah, we ordered jackets just or Monday of this week. Actually, it was yesterday. We waited until everything was somewhat official and then put the order in for the jackets, and we ordered somewhere around 670-ish.
That includes state and regional and all
Yeah, track, series, state, regional, all the different champions that we crown. We issue jackets to all of them, 670 plus.
About 1,000.
Yeah, it feels like 1,000. It's a lot of jackets.
Yes.
It's a lot of jackets to get ordered, to get
Jacket
stitched,
on, jacket off.
and get
Yeah, come on in, take off your pants and jacket.
to get ready for the banquet, which is Thanksgiving weekend in about what, 6 weeks ish.
Get to go
Roughly.
to Lincoln
Is it
for
that far out?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, about 6 weeks.
Oh, it's late this year.
The Iowa game there this year or not?
No,
It's in Iowa City.
it's in Iowa City this year.
Okay.
Nebraska's probably going to beat Iowa this year.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. They're both up and down.
Iowa
It'll be
put
interesting.
40 on somebody Saturday.
Washington, yeah.
The Huskies. Didn't Huskies play in a national championship?
They were in,
Last year,
they were
yeah.
in the Final Four or
yeah.
the playoff. I
Crazy.
think that was retribution for the 1980s Rose Bowl losses. It took them 35 years to get back at them.
So our national championships are final. I believe we posted the story. I know
Yep.
I read it. Mike Nichols leads the
13 times.
13 times.
He won a national
anybody.
championship?
Yeah, it almost doesn't seem real when you
No.
read it.
Shit.
He's got to get another new
It
driving
means we
suit.
have another
5 in a row.
speech coming from Mike Nichols this year at the banquet.
Wonder what he's going to say about you.
They're always entertaining. His are always very polished too, as well. I think I've said that before. He's very well spoken, but after winning it so many times, I think
Yeah, I was
What
gonna
else do you
say
have to say?
the newness of winning the national.
I think he
championship
should go
is
back
over.
and take a little bit out of each speech, the good parts out of each speech, and just make one big speech.
Retro speech?
Yes.
Yeah, and Dumpert's not far behind at 6. I mean 6. I think this is the 6th.
Yeah,
for Dumpert.
6. In the modern era, that's the most
6-3.
in a late model.
Yeah.
But Ernie Durr is the only late model driver to win more than 6 in a row. He did it. Got 7 in a row from 1965 to 71. That's not the modern era, but still, I know Dumpert is going for it. He's going for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it counts. He had tough going this year. He had to actually
Oh,
drive
yeah.
over to Moline the last weekend and race Travis.
Well, that was crazy. They were, but then speaking of that, when it came to Tiny Lund, Travis came all the way to Harlan to race him at Harlan.
Yep.
They were racing each other, kind of like the way,
Yep.
how you do it. Oh, I need to win. Well, how do you beat him? I go beat him.
We've said it before, that it's crazy to me. We have thousands and thousands of racers and thousands of races and multiple divisions, and you have our point system come down to 2, sometimes 3 guys racing head-to-head on the last weekend, or being forced to, or at least considering doing that to win or to prevent somebody else from winning. I mean, it's interesting how it plays out. It did play out that way in our late models this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was going in. Yeah, the late models, I think Sport Mods and Hobby Stocks were all real close toward the end. So to have a third of the divisions come down to the final weekend is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting the way the hobby stocks played out a little bit. I thought that was interesting. And again, behind the scenes here at IMCA, Ryan does a really good job of forecasting. Is that what you call it? Predictions?
I don't
Forecasting?
know. I don't know.
We get into the
Guessing.
month of August, and we start. People ask us all the time, "Oh, who's going to win this? Who's going to win that?" And we don't really get serious until the month of August when we start seeing how many starts guys have, whether they're at the top of track point standing somewhere, the things that really kind of count, and start shaking out. And then you always have a situation where you can almost predict what's going to happen by the obviously, but when we start looking at it in first week or 2 in August, we can almost predict who's going to win it. And then you have the ones that are toss-ups. You start throwing 3 or 4 different names in the equation and how it plays out, where they win.
Well, yeah, it was like coming into
they
it was a 3-way tie, and Sport Mods coming into the last 2 weeks.
The last weekend got really interesting from a variety of different
Yes, it did.
from a variety of different scenarios. Sport mods in particular.
Yes.
We should talk about this. We talk about it behind the scenes, but people don't know this stuff until it starts to kind of play out. And at times we don't even know this stuff could happen until
It happens.
It starts getting serious. It's like, oh, wait a second. Unless you lose, I want Jim to tell the story because Jim was the one that was taking the calls. But use the situation over in Eastern Iowa, Jim, with our Sport Mod division on what calls you got in the last weekend of racing.
Yeah, little. It came down to where a claim refusal could have changed our national champion, or greatly affected it.
Correct.
And those are the situations. That's not what the claim's for. And I think right off the bat, we ought to let people know we wouldn't have let that happen. But we were aware what was going on, kind of monitoring what was going on. But, our national championship, in my opinion, will never be decided in a tech area or in a claim area.
Yeah, under those circumstances, for sure. Obviously the claim's in place, and one of the gentlemen that we're talking about got claimed this year and sold an engine.
Yeah.
Franzen has sold an engine this year, so.
I was there, and he was surprisingly good with it.
What could have happened potentially? Yeah, what could have happened potentially would have been if Jarrett would have got claimed and refused that claim. Mm-hmm. What the implications of that would have been? He's going to lose all of his points, obviously,
and a track championship.
In the track championship. Then the track championship is transferred to the second place car, who was also in the top 3 or 4 in our national point standing. So it would have changed the bonus points, transferred them from one racer to the next racer in that position at, I think it was Maquoketa, and then also transferred the national bonus points situation and played it out to where it could have literally jumped. I think Velos was the gentleman that was also in the mix in that. We don't really think about these things. It would be, that wasn't in any of your predictions, obviously, Ryan.
No.
Because it doesn't really cross our radar until somebody asks us about it or says something about it or something. We go, whoa, never thought of it. That's a first. We've dealt with the claim in a lot of different ways over the years. Jim and I both have, and some pretty interesting situations. But there aren't very many firsts. But that one was going to be a first.
That would have been a first.
And to have to have our national championship potentially decided like that, to me is, under those circumstances, the last race of the year when, to me it's just like, that's really not how our national championship should be determined. And obviously people are going to say, oh, you're just protecting Franzen. Well, Franzen sold an engine to the claim this year already. So when anybody who wants to say that, in my opinion, to us, if you haven't sold an engine to the claim, then you really shouldn't even be saying it. Franzen has sold an engine to the claim. He's done it. He's experienced it. So, in our opinion, we're not protecting him, and that's him in particular. We're protecting our system in that situation is the way I look at it. Because our national championship has value. You want it to be determined by the racing, not necessarily by tech inspection, even though you want cars legal.
And once again, on the claim, we had another situation earlier in the year where we stepped in and didn't allow a claim to happen because the person who claimed was broadcasting it on Facebook for months prior. And, once again, we're not going to let that happen. But don't be confused, us doing that and protecting the driver, because the driver who got claimed that we turned down ended up losing a motor 2-3 weeks after that.
Yeah, the unfortunate reality of the situation for many of our guys that are hot and heavy into national point battles and really broadcasting or telling everybody that their intent is to try to win the national championship, they become targeted a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's always been that way. So I think most of them expect that. But there's circumstances that play out sometimes where they become marked racers or put into situations that aren't necessarily realistic for us to allow to happen continually. It forces us to step in. Jim has done that a couple times this year under the terms that we determine. Obviously, I always say like the claim, and this, I don't want this to turn into a claim discussion too much, but the claim.
1995 all over again.
There's good and bad about the claim, and they're usually the same subjects. And I've said this many times. The good thing about the claim is it gives the racers a little bit of recourse. It gives the racers a say. right? You know, so when they're complaining about the cost of engines, or when they're complaining about the cost of shocks, or when they're complaining about the cost of carburetors, the 3 items that are claimable, or the whole car in the compacts, they have an outlet to control that, to be a part of that. And, you know, that's also the problem with the claim, is that the racers at times
too much influence on it.
Too much.
Mm-hmm.
The claim has intent across the board, and we talk about this forever. There's times when racers what I would say demonstrate very poor judgment that is not necessarily reasonable for them to expect for them to inflict on other people, on other racers, given the circumstances of how some of this stuff plays out. You know, and I don't think, and again, you look at our claim conditions, I don't think that the conditions that we put in place demonstrate that we don't care. I think it's the opposite. But I don't think IMCA racers should be targeted by people who don't support much racing IMCA, or really aren't there to race. They're there just to claim. We've addressed that as best we possibly can, and I think in some aspects it's probably hurt the frequency of the claim and increased the costs unnecessarily. But you know, it is what it is. So anyhow, yeah. So I thought that was interesting how that kind of played out in the Eastern Iowa situation with our Sport Mod division, and obviously a little bit again while we're on Sport Mods. You know, the Loft winning. How many has he won now?
7.
7.
Yeah, last year he became the first Sport Mod driver to win 3 consecutive national titles, and now he's got 4, and he's got 7 in the last 12 years.
Yep. Yeah.
1 point.
Impressive.
Won the Super Nationals 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Matt knows what he's doing in a Sport Mod.
Yeah, all-time winningest Sport Mod driver.
Yep, and he's doing well in a stock car too.
He was a track champion at Arlington, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep. Matt's just a good racer.
Mm-hmm.
He is. I think he's a good snapshot of IMCA in general. You know, he doesn't have tons of money. He's a working guy. Was he a fireman? Is he a fireman?
He's a fireman. He's
Try to remember.
Oh,
all the
he
stuff
delivers
gets hard.
gas.
Volunteer firefighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delivers fuel to farmers and other places around up there.
Yep. Yeah. Super nice guy. Lots of kids.
Yes, he does.
They're all involved in racing. His wife, so they're all very active and supporting him and being around him, which is always good. So, yeah, I thought it was, it's interesting to see the multi-time champions repeating. But we had some new ones.
They had to work for it though this year.
They
The
did.
ones that won. I mean, Loaf going into the final weekend, Dumpert going into the final weekend.
Yep.
I mean, they were Nichols. We talked a little bit about him, and he didn't have to work quite as hard as those two did. But he,
That final weekend in August was a big week for Nichols to get that national championship. I'm joking.
Nichols it's interesting because Mike he's done it a lot, but he's done it in a lot of different places. You know, he goes and he's racing. One year he's racing in Missouri for a national championship. One year he's racing in Nebraska to get his national championship. This year, I don't know, last year I'd have to go back and look, but this year he won all his track championships, or were what I would consider to be in his backyard, where he resides in and around that Harlan area.
Harlan Dennison.
Well, back in the
So where he goes, he wins. You know what I mean? It does it when he's a weekly racer. Mike has supported our weekly system more than anybody. It had more success than anybody, obviously, with 13 championships. So, he knows how to drive a race car.
How many feature wins does Mike have?
6 something.
Brian?
I don't know how many total. I mean, he
like
only had 26 this year, which is kind of down for him.
Yeah, I think it's
It's
657
something.
or
Something like that.
660 in that 660 range. A lot. He's got quite a few. But
It's got more than 2, less than 1 million.
yeah, we had a first time for Kaylee Richards too, where she's the first driver to win both the national championship and the Lady Eagle Award, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And she's also the first or the second, I believe, female driver to win a national championship in not the Lady Eagle, but in our divisions. Besides, I think the Bartholomew.
Yep. Gina Bartholomew won. She was the inaugural winner back in 07.
Compacts.
Yep.
Yeah, in the compacts in 07. So
If we ever had a husband and a wife that have won national championships,
I don't think so. They got a first for that too. With her husband Dylan winning
Hobby Stocks. I talked to him over in
and
Harlan, and
compacts.
I would say no because Gina Barthelmess is the only other female national champion.
Yeah.
So this would have to be.
Isn't she married to
She married Adam Gates.
Gates won the Super
He won
Nationals.
Super Nationals. Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of connections there, and if you don't know the people directly, you wouldn't know these kinds of things. But it's always interesting to us because I'll be like at the races, and Katie will be racing, and Dylan's there, and I'm like, but he's not racing.
But he's not racing. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and Gates is the same way. I've seen him with Gina or that vice versa back in the that I recall times like that. So anyhow, yeah, again, congratulations to Kaylee on her accomplishments. Two, one other thing I wanted to mention because in the last podcast we talked about the women in racing that we did at the Super Nationals.
Super Nationals.
And I don't think I gave enough credit to Andrea. I don't even think
Andrea McCain.
I don't even think I mentioned her. So
I think Wade did.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that she got a lot of credit for that women in racing at the Super Nationals this year. I just think that was a fantastic idea, and I know that Kendall at Napa was involved with some of that, and I do remember mentioning Kendall,
dynamic,
but it wasn't his idea. I think it was Andrea's idea.
I think it was.
So again, I wanted to give her some credit because I still think that's a fantastic idea. I hope to expand on that next year, and hopefully Andrea will be a part of that. So, but again, congratulations to Kaylee on her national championship.
And with the Sport Compacts too, that's the 6th straight different national champion in the Sport Compact division, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, you could go back, you hear, the Nate Koopmans and the Ramsey Myers and that have won a lot of championships. Yep. Last 6 years, we've had different ones every year.
It's kind of like the Southerns. I think the Southerns have a similar situation as
well.
well.
They have 11 straight different national champions.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeff Shepard won it this year. Jeff was at the top of the standings last year, but I think he didn't have a track championship last year.
I think that's correct. Yep.
Something played out where Jeff got beat on the bonus points.
David Phillips won it last year due to the championship.
Who won the sprint cars?
What?
Who won the sprint cars? Talked about the other ones.
Lee Goose Jr.
Yes.
Goose, and he got second last year. And he came back and won it this year.
In 28 starts.
28 starts.
8 wins. He was in the top 10 every night except for one.
Isn't that crazy? Racing up around that area where there's
Get good
a lot of sprint
car
cars.
counts.
too.
Yeah.
Because he picked up a win at Park Jefferson on the
I-90
on the new track, I-90 and Houston.
And Huset's, I mean, I-90 averaged close to 30. Huset's averaged over 30 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Huset's and I-90 probably average sprint car counts are at the top 2 or 3 in the country. Obviously, Eagle has done really well over the years, but weekly sprint car racing, those facilities are well known for sprint car racing. So it's kind of cool to see a guy come out of the Race Saver ranks at those facilities and win the national championship.
And he said he finished 27 top 10 finishes in 28 starts. 21 of those were top 5. So he was in the top 5 3 every 4 nights.
Yeah,
which is pretty impressive.
It is. But it also goes to show too that our system, if you have one of those years, and I think you've got the Nichols and you got Dumperts and you got Lopes and you got people like that are consistently doing things, but then you got people that like they just something clicks where that year they just almost can't be beat. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you look at his stats and they're very, he isn't racing 55 times or 50 plus times like some of the other guys are. He's racing less than 30 times and winning a national championship in the Race Saver division, and he's in the top 5 20 to 2/3 of the time. It's pretty impressive, especially in a division that's as competitive as that class is.
Yes.
It's crazy.
At those facilities.
Yeah. So congrats to him, obviously, as well.
Who won the modifieds? We haven't talked about the modifieds.
Mods, hobbies, and mod lights yet to talk about.
Yes.
What are you going to go to next?
Let's go with mod lights.
I was gonna say mods. You got Baca, who's a repeat champion in a region where you can't win a national championship out of. At least for years, it was rumored. But that's been said so much about the North Central region and the state of Iowa. I've heard it called. People like to call IMCA a lot of things. The Iowa Motor Contest Association is one of those ones that people always try to pin on us, and I chuckle at that.
All your champions come from Iowa.
Yeah, I chuckle at that when there's a shitload of mod racing in the state of Iowa and the surrounding states right here in the upper Midwest, but our championships have come a lot of times outside of this area, outside of the state of Iowa for sure.
I think for the last 10 years, you've only had one from the state of Iowa. That was Tom Berry.
Right.
He's not even from Iowa, but
he's from Oregon, isn't he? Technically from Oregon.
Bedford.
Yeah. So, yeah, but congratulations to Kaz. I mean, we had him on the podcast last year. Was it this year or last year?
Was it this year?
Nice.
Was it last year? Might have been last year.
Called.
Yeah, I mean they all run together after a while. He's one of the guys we've had on the
All
the
12 of
podcast.
them.
And
All 12 of them have run together, yeah.
You know one thing about Baca, though, you mentioned back-to-back championships. He's only the 5th modified driver to win back-to-back modified championships. Bill Davis Jr., Johnny Sadoff, David Murray, and Jordan Grabowski are the other 4. So I'd say he's in pretty good company.
That's an elite group.
Wow.
yeah,
What's interesting about Chaz too is you see him at the track. There's times it'll just be him or him and his dad. He doesn't have that big toter with a full-time crew.
He doesn't have an entourage with him like some of those guys do.
This kid just races his ass off at the end of the day and works on his own stuff. And I mean, it's kind of refreshing to see.
It's the way it's supposed to be.
Correct.
yeah. So congratulations to him. It's one of those cars that you see on the racetrack. I just think, 75 car, it's red. I know who drove that one.
He's another guy that barely made 50 starts, and he still had 43 top 10 finishes. I mean, he's always there. 39 top 5s. I mean, the dude's always running up front.
Yeah.
You said hobby stocks?
I think we're talking mod lights.
Because Jerry wants
Let's
hobby
vote.
stocks. Let's do mod. Let's save the hobby
in
stocks
favor?
for the end.
Yes.
All in favor of mod lights?
All right, let's go.
lights.
Mod lights.
Dylan Rafferty would be happy to talk
No,
about.
kidding. He
Jerry, what
wanted
do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about sandwiches.
Rafferty, what, 4? 4 in a row?
4, yeah. He's a 4-time
He's the only one that's
champion.
won our mod light.
I was going to
national
say, how many years
championship.
they've been sanctioned?
Yep.
Come on, Dylan, you got to let somebody else win.
A lot of copy and pasting going on. And
He
I
got his
hate these
100
stats.
career wins in as well with IMCA. You know,
He
I mean,
was-
it's interesting because with Dylan, he's quiet. You got to pry conversations out of him. I think super nice guy. His whole family's very nice. They've been very supportive of our of mod light racing in general before us and obviously after our involvement. There was a time where I was like, come on, Dylan, let's let somebody else win in general. He came to Super Nationals. How many years did he win the Super
He
Nationals?
won it the first 2 years, and the race champions.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, he had a string there. He was running just everything we offered, and I don't cheer against people, but I think Dylan is the type of guy that forces everybody else to elevate their racing.
Yeah, he
And,
sets the bar pretty high.
yeah, he does, and you watch him at the Super Nationals, and this year and last year even. I mean, he's leading races.
He's right there at the end. I mean,
broke.
yeah. Flat tire, I think, last year, year ago.
Yeah, but if you go back the first year or two of mod light racing, if Dylan's in the top 3, I think he's going to win. That's the way I look at it. But now at Super Nationals in particular, where I see him, I don't get to see him weekly race much, so I'm not where he's at a lot. But at Super Nationals, when he's up in the top, I'm always like, okay, who's around him? Because the mod light racing has got, in my opinion, at Super Nationals in particular, has stepped up and got much, much better. And it's you don't expect one person to dominate, like we did, like we saw the first 2 years, but Dylan's still kicking everybody's ass in the weekly racing scene. I mean, he's a very, very good mod light racer.
Yes, he
I think
is.
he's right at 40 starts this year, 24 wins, 24 40-point wins. He was in the top 5 all but 2 nights.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just good. Yeah,
Crazy.
very consistent.
Yep. Be like one of those questions I'd like to ask him. Be like, so how long are you gonna race mod lights? You gonna race mod lights forever?
Yeah, we can say. Yep.
As long as he's having fun with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But does he build cars? He builds his own cars, don't he?
Well, yeah. I mean, the story of him is
What else is he going to do?
fascinating
He doesn't drive anywhere. So
because they took a liking to the mod light division and went out and took a CAD class, bought a machine,
Isn't that awesome?
and built their own cars. I mean, they literally build their car. I mean, just decided one day, I'm going to go to school. Let's buy this machine. Let's win 4 national championships.
Yep.
Just kind of like that.
It's crazy.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations to Dylan again.
Yes.
4 in a row. Pretty awesome accomplishment. Want to talk hobby stocks now?
Now let's move on.
let's wait.
Let's wait.
To me, that hobby stock one was
Yeah.
even more interesting than how the sport mod.
I think I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the one we were all kind of behind the scenes, like, You know, because for a couple of weeks in August, we were like, okay, who's going to win it, Mike Smith or Cody Williams?
Right.
And
Corey
then
Probst just showed up.
Yeah,
I
Corey
think
he
Probst
didn't
just
have
kinda
the
goes-
nights in, so
I think if we go back into your predictions, even
he was in
I
my
don't
first
even-
round.
He was or wasn't?
No.
Yeah, I don't even think his name was mentioned.
His name wasn't mentioned most of the season.
Yeah, we got into late August, and all of a sudden Ryan's got his name popping up, and I'm like, well, where the hell did he come from? How'd this happen? I mean, he knows what to do. He's won it before, right?
He won the
But
COVID year,
He
2020.
was COVID
There
champion.
you go, COVID champion. We got
He
the
only had
signs-
46 starts.
signs back down here. I saved my COVID signs that we put
Saved
up
your
at
COVID
Super
signs.
Nationals. They're on the wall back here. Where you make sure
Maintain
you're
your
wearing your mask.
Social
Wear your
distancing.
mask and
On the
be 6
catwalk
feet.
outside.
But-
Get it on, or we're gonna kick you out. Stay 6 feet from everybody.
How many people we kick out that year?
0.
0.
How many people got COVID that year? I think.
I don't know. How many people got COVID this year?
Ugh.
How many people wear a mask outside on the catwalks?
0.
0.
I wasn't on the catwalks.
Yeah, good times.
But no, Probst, he and the sprint car champion are the only drivers that didn't max out on starts. But Probst had 28 wins and 46 starts. I mean, he was in the top 10 44 nights, top 5 41 times out of 46 starts. I mean, that's going to pay dividends.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
And
crazy
we're-
how he just kind of.
Where did he get his track championships at?
Arlington,
In Worthington? No.
No, Redwood.
No. Redwood.
Somewhere in
yeah,
Minnesota.
Arlington and Redwood.
Yeah, Redwood.
Somewhere in Minnesota.
And that's the
Again,
thing
you look at
about.
how competitive. Sorry, Ryan.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that the top three, you talked about Smith, Probst, and Williams, they all maxed out on wins. They all maxed out on bonus points. It was it was impressive all the way around to watch them battle to the end.
Yeah, very much so. All from 3 different states too, as well. You know, which I think is interesting.
Yep.
So, have we talked about all the national champs? Then?
We-
I think we have.
I think
I think
we,
that's it.
I mean, Bill
Wow,
writes
yeah.
the story, and it's just fascinating. I enjoy reading this stuff. You know, I have to read it over and over again because I'm like, really, did that happen? Oh, that's interesting. You know, I mean, the accomplishments of some of our racers that have been doing it for a long time, like a William Gould, and then you've got first-time guys that end up in our regional championships, like Zog. I don't think Zog is one of
Chris Zog's never won a region.
No.
He's one of those guys where, like, I know Chris. He's very nice. I've never had any problems with him. He's an Eastern Iowa guy, you know, so he's racing over there where Jeff Larson and some of those guys are at. So he's racing against a good field of cars. You know what I mean? It's no slouches over there,
Yeah,
in my
just
opinion.
Quality and
Yeah.
high in quality and high
The
in
name
number.
you don't hear every
Right.
day, but when you hear it,
His dad was a long-time modified racer. Mike
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
To see him squeak in there with the, you know, obviously his bonus points and putting him up into the regional championship and stuff like that is pretty cool. It's good to see guys like that winning because I think guys like that fit really well and really do define what we are as an association. So cool. I mean, we could talk national points all the whole podcast if we wanted to.
Let's do it then.
There's some really cool stuff in here.
Jim Zeger.
I really want to talk about sandwiches, though. I'm hungry.
Like oh God, like Myron DeYoung winning a feature. What?
Yeah.
Every year for 30
Yeah.
straight
30-some
consecutive
years.
years.
Yeah.
That's just
Yep.
nuts.
I actually thought as long as he's been around, he won the first car race, though. To be honest
Ever?
with you.
Anyway.
I think he won the first car race in North Dakota
He literally is one of those guys that. Again,
Oh, he's from Michigan.
or Michigan. I'm thinking the other.
Yeah. He is really one of those guys too. You know, I've been here since '97. Ryan's been here a long time. Jim's been a long time. Myron's been one of those guys that just name is always you kind of
Oh, okay.
you know who he is. You know?
Yep.
In IMCA, you know, mod racing especially, obviously. So
And a guy that we don't generally have a lot of problems with.
correct. There's some cool stuff in here about the ages of some of our racers. You know, I think some of that is always interesting when you have 14-year-olds.
Who's the rookies?
Jacob Mallet Jr. is the modified rookie. Where's he from?
He's from California. J Money. The 127. He was a sport mod. He raced a sport mod out there.
Oakley. Yep, he's from
Yep,
Oakley.
Oakley.
Oh, the youngster,
Money.
he's only 20 years old.
Yep. Then you got the Cameron Gaston. You've got Trace and Glick. Trace and Glick's the one's 14.
Yeah.
He won the Mod Light.
Joe Glick's dad.
He's a Southern Sport. Isn't Glick the Southern Sport?
No, Glick is this Mod Light.
Is he Mod
Races
Light?
weekly.
Sorry.
Morristown,
You're
Indiana.
right. Southern Sportman was ahead of it.
Colby Fett was a
Colby
stock car
yeah,
rookie.
he's a stock car rookie.
Yeah, he knows his way around the racetrack.
Yeah, first night in a stock car, he goes out and
We should have
ass
a rule.
whooping on him at Spencer.
We really should have a rule.
What?
Sport mod guys can't race stock cars.
You know, Jake Sacco was last year's stock car
guys can't
national
race-
rookie.
Stock car guys can't race sport mods. We really
Yeah.
should have rules like that.
Rules. Let's
Pick
make
a division.
rules. Let's have a rule for a rule for a rule.
Yep. Let's
Pick
just
a division.
make up another one.
It's so much fun.
I think we should race Crown Vics.
Crown Vic.
yes.
Oh God.
I
Did
think
you
we
just
should-
say that?
Yes.
We'll get
Let
right
me
on
tell you a
that.
Crown Vic story. Can I tell a Crown Vic story?
Oh, I got a good Crown Vic story from Alabama
Mine's
last
better
year.
than yours. Mine's better than yours. See, about in 2004, we had this division. It's called the Sport Mod. We decided that we were gonna start a limited modified division.
Yeah.
It's called a Sport Mod, right?
Yeah.
And so our idea was, because they were still making a car called the Ford Crown Victoria
Or a Grand Marquis.
or Grand Marquis, you could actually still buy those frames. They were still brand new, being in production in 04, whereas a Chevelle, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
So we thought, let's have
Hang on. You were going to
a
back.
division that's built on the Crown Vic frame. Can you imagine how incredibly popular that would be? The cars are available. They wouldn't have any problem buying them. They could buy them, make the frame, piece cake.
And then the Crown Victoria went away. Cop cars went to Tauruses and Explorers and F-150s.
Not so much. Didn't work out so much.
I remember the first when we sat down with some car builders about that, and they said, "Oh, you got to put it on the Chevelle frame. You got to make it the same as the modifieds." And I go, "Well, what worries us about that is, pretty soon they'll be as expensive as modifieds." Oh no, nobody would ever buy a new chassis just to race the Sport Mod.
Never.
Never?
How'd that work out?
Yeah. We should have a rule that says if you win like 10 times, you can't race it next year.
You have to change that next week.
Or if you win the national championship, you got to sell everything you own and race something else.
Yeah,
It'd be affordable that way.
exactly.
All that stuff you have, you can't use it anymore. You got to buy it or something else.
That just kills me when we hear that suggestion. You know what I mean?
In defense of it, there's some merit to the thought process, but in reality, how in the hell would you ever had a rule like that?
Correct. So if you win the Sport Compact National Championship, you got to get a modified.
You have to. No other choice. You got to quit racing or race something else.
And if you win the modified, you got to get a sprint car.
What if you can't afford to race something?
Now, we know you can afford this division, so we're going to make you go to this division you can't afford. It's like,
We know you really like this class, but we don't really care.
you have to race within your. It all comes down to racing within your means. You got to. I mean, if all you can afford to race is a hobby stock, then race a hobby stock because you still get to do what you want to do, and that's go race.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those who complain about it, well, just keep complaining. It's okay.
Or beat him.
They're still kicking your ass.
Yeah,
every week.
exactly.
Or just beat him.
Because 9 times out of 10, the people that are complaining are getting their tails whooped every week by that person.
Oh, hey, one other thing we probably should mention. Two things.
Honorable mentions?
We already mentioned Katie on the Kaylee on the Lady Eagle.
Yep.
In the Sport Compact. But we should mention the junior national champion this year as well. Pace Herrera. Yeah, 24 feature wins on his way to his national and Southern Region Rookie of the Year honors for the junior national championship. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And his sister washes a mean car.
Yeah.
His sister is Mariah. She is the one that washes cars at the Super Nationals. If for people that like to know those kinds of things.
She's got quite the operation this past
she
year.
does.
That thing's really getting elaborate.
Yeah.
And, then obviously Pace's dad, JR, knows how to put a booth together at PRI.
He does.
And he's a lot of fun to bring to dinner.
He's a really good gambler too, because I've taken his bets and lost. I lost a lot of money to J.R. Herrera one time.
Not a real good speller, but
Right. But anyhow, yeah. But no, congratulations to Pace. we'll see him obviously as well on Thanksgiving weekend. And again, our banquet for those, we're working on all our track champion, or all of our championship letters that are going out of our office. It'll probably go out, I imagine, this week. Banquet invitations, all that stuff's going to be sent. We're working on getting jackets ordered, trophies ordered, plaques ordered, all that fun stuff. All the accolades of winning national championships. Carson's working on contingencies and getting that stuff all ready to go. And then we'll give it all away at the Thanksgiving weekend at the Cornhusker in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Along with a shitload of money.
The same day that Nebraska beats Iowa in football.
But the night before, we're going to go to the museum.
Let's hope
You're going
not.
to put money on that or what?
Yeah, you want to put some money on that?
That's why I'm wearing red today.
You weren't red today because that's what you wore. It had nothing to do with Nebraska.
Okay. Sounded good.
I got black on today because of the Hawkeyes beating the Huskers.
I'll take
So
a bet.
I'll
take the bet.
I guess that is about the only good thing I
You
can
want to make a
for
bet on the
Jim.
podcast? I pay my bets. I'll make a bet.
do you want to bet? What's
You
the
tell
bet?
me.
You got a few weeks yet. There's a lot of season left before they have their Black Friday matchup. Mm-hmm. I don't think you want to bet
Heroes
right
game.
now.
I
It's
still
not
think
early.
Nebraska's going to beat them. We got Matt Rule.
Yeah, but they're still in their 400.
How did he do at Carolina in the NFL?
Not all so well.
Yeah.
How'd he do at Baylor, though?
Okay.
Iowa State beat Baylor the other day.
He got a few $40 million out of the Carolina Panthers for his Baylor. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine getting paid that kind of money?
Look at the Jets. Robert Saleh, he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
How many like $20,000 a day for the next how many years?
Isn't that crazy?
Well, Nebraska went on a roll where they were paying.
Do they still
Three-
pay Bo Pelini, and do they? or
Yeah,
do they
I
pay-
think he's still getting
Pelini's,
paid.
Pelini's paid off. I don't think Frost is.
Yeah.
Frost
They
was
were
going to be the
paying
savior
three-
from UCF.
three
and how'd
head
that work
coaches.
out? Not
Yeah.
so much. But at least Iowa scored 40 points last week, like you had mentioned.
Correct.
They
It's a
got
scoring
rid,
explosion.
they got rid of the Ferentz kid, and they start scoring points.
This is the first time in 3 or 4 years they scored 40 points in a Big Ten game.
Since Hayden
Double,
Fry, probably.
double digits.
Double digits. But it's the second time they scored 40 this year.
They were even. I was on SportsCenter. I was watching SportsCenter, and one of the announcers said, "Did Iowa really score 40 points?" Just made me laugh.
They probably bet the under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most do.
Is that real?
Yeah.
It was.
What
they
was
won't score.
the
They won't.
over-under?
They won't
last
score
year's
40 against Nebraska. That's my prediction.
Last year's
No.
over-under on that Husker Iowa game was like, what, 9? Something like that.
A field goal. Anyhow, what else we talking about besides national championships and all that fun stuff?
Syracuse is 5-1. We can talk about that.
Iowa State's like 7. Is it 6-0 or 7-0?
6-0.
Yeah, Iowa State's
They're in
6-0.
the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many teams have they taken for the BCS or whatever?
12.
They call it this
12.
year? Is it 12? So Iowa State will be in it, and Iowa won't. The way
Well,
it's going.
that's
Well, I mean, there's still a lot of season left.
Iowa State has 2 ranked
Iowa,
opponents to play yet.
They'll get down to the last game, and it'll matter, and Iowa will lose. That's pretty much how Hawkeye football's played.
No, they don't. They play not to lose. They don't play to win.
Exactly. It's like the Michigan State game a few years back. But anyhow. The bonus point situation is kind of interesting. We're done talking about championships, but I think the bonus point situation is really kind of
Talk about that, because that kind of didn't the bonus points affect the sport mods? Because, there's points are awarded
It
if you
did.
don't get more, like on a weekly, if you don't get more than 10 cars, the point structure changes, but does the bonus point structure change?
Virginia gives me these handy little notes that her calculations for everything, for every division, and it's a breakdown of our national points in one side, on where we're at on our top 20, and then when bonus points are calculated in, how many bonus points are they get, and what the totals are. And it's interesting to see how, like, a Broxma, who's second in national points after the points are all over, drops down to 5th because he has no bonus points. Same with Tim Ward. He dropped down as well from 3rd to 8th because neither one of them had won any track championships. They didn't race any weekly events. They're just hitting specials. And it's interesting because if you look at our national points, let's just say in modifieds, for example, the top 20 in our national points, 13 of our top 20 won a track championship. 7 guys did not. And then so when that stuff starts to play out, when we add the bonus points or calculate the bonus points in, it shuffles them a little bit, and 7 out of the top 10 in national standings for the modifieds with bonus points or had bonus points. So 70% needed bonus points. I thought that was interesting because when you look in particular, when you compare it to stock cars and mods, I like to talk about stock cars and mods. They're probably two of our most popular divisions, and there's lots and lots of specials for stock cars and modifieds out there. So there's opportunities for guys like Broxma and Ward, and they literally, I think, they determine their schedules more so based on what the races are paying to win than anything else. They're not necessarily dedicated to one particular facility. And the same happened a little bit with our stock cars. Again, I think some of our stock car purses this year have been higher than they've ever been in any year we've had the division.
Oh, without a doubt.
Lots and lots of big specials for stock cars. It was reflective in All-Star qualifying.
Seven locked in off 5,000 win races.
Yeah. And when we put that condition in place a couple years ago, I think we had one race, and then we had 7 this year. So, and I don't know if the actual All-Star Invitational, the automatic qualifier, someone instigated some of those 5,000 win shows, if they produced that because of that or not. Because the All-Star in itself has got real popular as well with B&B chassis and Paul's involvement.
Yep.
They give a chassis away, like an $8,000 chassis away this year and last year to the winner. So it's not like they're racing for nothing. I think it pays $1,000 to win that race in particular. It doesn't pay nowhere near $5,000. But when you give them a free chassis, and McBurney won the chassis this year, and I think they sold it in the pits 20 minutes later for like $6,500.
Yeah.
So, but McBurney was in a B&B, so if anybody's wondering why he sell it, he sold it because he had one, and it was the wrong color. I mean, that was really
that was the wrong color.
That was the discussion that was being had in Victory
Not the right
Lane.
color.
They're like, I'm like, you guys gonna keep this car? And he's like, no. I'm like, what kind of car you got? He goes, I got a BHE B&B, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, why are you gonna sell it? He goes, it's purple.
Mm-hmm.
I can't have a purple race car. I think Joe actually told me not Jake, but I thought it was interesting.
Well, they know somebody that can powder coat, don't they?
Yeah, they do, but they
might
have to get
know
the
a guy.
purple powder coating off the one that was sitting in the infield. So yeah, so they opted out of selling the car because it was the wrong color. If it would have been blue, they probably would have kept it. I'm almost certain that they would have. So, but yeah, you look at the bonus points and how it plays out in mods and stock cars. Mods and stock cars in particular was probably the lowest when it comes to track champions in our top 20 in national points. 7 of our top 20 in national points at the end of the season had won a track championship of one or more track championships. So only 7 out of 20. I thought that, was that less than 50%. That was probably of all of our divisions the lowest. I just thought it was interesting when you look at the particular divisions. Then you get into stuff like hobby stocks and compacts. 17 of our top 20 in national points at the end of the season, 17 of them won a track championship in the hobby stocks. Yeah, 17 of them, and like 9 of them had 2 track championships. So if you actually looked at how it all plays out, and I wish we could print this stuff so people could see it because it's very interesting, and it becomes a foundation for how we make our decisions here on how we calculate bonus points and national bonus points and what we allow and what we do and what we don't do. Sport compacts and hobby stocks were our 2 highest divisions when it comes to guys winning track championships and being in the top 20.
Well, those divisions have the fewest number of specials too. Those guys are weekly racing.
Mm-hmm. Right. They don't, generally speaking, they don't travel much. Compact guys aren't known for traveling too terribly far. Neither are hobby stock guys. We've tried this, and we get this all the time. Hey, why don't you have 5,000 to win sport compact race? Hey, why don't you have a 10,000 to win hobby stock race? Well, generally speaking, the guys in those divisions aren't really traveling racers. They're not professional racers. They're not racing like a Broxma is, where he's driving a house car for somebody. He's racing for money. It doesn't generally happen in compacts and hobby stocks, and you see it right in our results at the end of the year. It's very telling to us. Like 10 out of, like, in our sport compact national points, the top 10 in national points after bonus points were all added, every one of them, 10 out of 10 won a track championship. In hobby stocks, 9 out of 10 won a track championship. And then you go into something like, again, mods and stock cars, weekly division cars that have a lot of specials. You look at mods and stock cars, 5 out of our 10 in national points in stock cars won a track championship, and 7 in our modifieds. So it just kind of goes down, when you look at the hierarchy of the divisions and how we classify them. And people ask us this all the time, and we argue with people about this stuff. Jim argues with people about this stuff almost every week now, on guys wanting to race in other divisions. What the division, kind of where we have it settled, or where we have it somewhat within the hierarchy of how we classify our divisions, and how they fit into weekly racing, generally speaking, and how they fit into special events, and how racetrack promoters at the end of the day are using those divisions for their events. No two racetracks are the same, no two promoters are the same, but the divisions, generally speaking, the promoters end up migrating to a fairly consistent system. But anyhow, I thought it was interesting. I think that shit's really interesting, and I think that we should. And we've talked about this a little bit. Ryan's predictions in August are so incredibly interesting. They really are, and we don't even publish them, which I would like to change that. I'd like to publish them next year. I'd like to put that stuff
until
out
I
there.
screw up, and then
Yes and no. And Jim and I've talked about this. We've talked about this behind the scenes. Yeah, we make mistakes. We do make mistakes like anybody. We're humans. We do make mistakes, and just like racers make mistakes. People calculate their stuff wrong. We had that situation pop up this year with Sackow. I talked to Jake on the phone twice before the end of the season. And he was asking about bonus points. He was consistently asking about somebody else's bonus points. He wasn't consistently asking about his own. In fact, he never once said anything about his own other than I've got 30 bonus points. Well, at the end of the day, he didn't, because he had a prorated bonus point system that I didn't even know until it happened.
Can we explain that? Or I don't know if everyone has an understanding of how the bonus points are actually applied.
Well, in order to get full bonus points, you have to have the racetrack has to schedule 8 events.
You have to
complete
complete 8
8
events. Yep.
You have to schedule them as well.
Yep.
You can't schedule 8 and then cancel 4 of them and get full bonus points.
Right.
Our number is 8, and we arrive at that because you look at, again, weekly racing across the country. We try to have our system somewhat apply to all parts of the country, all states, all regions, and not in every region is Iowa. We race the shit out of people in this state. I mean, you can race. We've talked about this a lot. You can race almost every single day for like 2 or 3 months in a row in the state. It's kind of crazy. And there's other states where that just don't happen. There's Saturday night. They might have one Friday night or something weird like that. Weekly option for racers. So, when we arrived at 8, we looked at a full schedule. And for many years, a full schedule of racetrack was about 20 nights. They rain out, usually we figure about 20% of the time, which is 4 races on 20. That's 16. So you look at some of the racetracks that are not running consistently every week, they'll run an 8-race schedule. That's how we arrived at 8. People ask, how do you come up with this? That's 8 seems to be a reasonable number for a track. Let's just say in Kansas or someplace like that that's racing every other weekend, or not even every other weekend. One or twice a month, once a month.
First and third Saturday.
Yeah, we
second
see
and fourth Saturday.
We see some really interesting schedules. Again,
Get that camera off me. I'm going to sneeze.
None of them the same. Ryan's going to
Put the camera on him.
Can we get a picture of that?
No, it went away.
Oh.
So 8 is the magic number. And again, in Sackow's particular situation, I think he was racing at Stewart.
They only got 7.
But
7 track points races.
They had like 11 scheduled.
They did.
So they had way more than 8. It's not like they had 8 and everybody's like, oh, this is going to be tight. Because if you lose 2 races, on average, most tracks rain out 20% of the time. Mm-hmm. That's the number that we go off of in our head here. That's consistently something that happens every year. Some more, some less. But 20% is a fair number. So we looked at it from the standpoint of, okay, if you schedule 8, you're not leaving yourself any room. Right. And a place like Stewart has not historically been a place that runs a few amount of shows. I think he had 11 races scheduled this year, which is reasonable. It's kind of middle of the road.
Yep.
But with that too, but
he had some shitty weather, and lost 4 of them, which is not normal.
No.
That's 40% of his races, or 35%, whatever it is.
Yeah, but again, you only earn bonus points for events that award track points. That's not for special events.
Correct.
Like a Frostbuster that brings in extra cars does not go toward track average or bonus
Right.
points.
The system
Unless,
gets,
of course, that special does award track.
If it awards track points, then it counts.
and we could talk points, and it gets kind of interesting. I think it's interesting. It gets kind of boring if you're listening to it, I think, a little bit. But all of these little queries we have in play here when it comes to bonus points, how many nights, all those things, they all have merit. They all have reasoning behind them as to how we land on those numbers, even stuff like average, the bonus points in particular. We're right now we're capped at 15 for a track championship, and the max is 2 in most of our divisions. Some divisions just has 1, but the cap is 15. We've talked about, if you look at, we can forecast this stuff. We can go back and change the system internally and see what impact it has. Not that we can pick the champions. You can't pick the champions, but our goal here has always been to have a system that a guy from Kansas, a guy from Minnesota, and a guy from Iowa can race for a national championship, and it can come down to the last weekend of racing. So you look at our hobby stocks where that happened this year, and it's pretty telling that, okay, our system isn't necessarily broken, but it can always be fine-tuned, I think, because nothing stays the same. Nothing stays the same. We've changed every year something for every year I've been here.
Yep.
And the point deal to me is, I think it's pretty close. I think it continues to be one of the best point systems for what our goal is with weekly racing. That's it in racing, and I think it's obviously been very good for trying to serve the goal of crowning national champions that are consistent across
37, 38 states?
Right. Yeah. That's the other thing. I don't know if people really realize how challenging it is for an association like IMCA to be as big as we are. It is incredibly challenging. It is an incredibly large amount of work, and it has taken a lot of people for 30 plus years to kind of get it to where it's at. So we're always trying to fine tune that and make it better, because again, nothing stays the same. And I also think to at the end of the year, to look at how it played out, to review it and say, okay, can we make this better? Can we continually improve on our product and improve it in a way that's in the best interest of the guys who are weekly racing? Again, compacts and hobby stocks, which are our 2 primary weekly racing divisions. You look at how that played out in a national championship. It's
Track points matter.
Track points matter. It's pretty interesting. It really is. Am I putting you to sleep, Jerry? We're not talking about sandwiches.
Just watching the late models.
Oh, yeah, we got something changed.
Got new videos up there.
Nate's got some new stuff uploaded.
I had the other ones pretty much memorized by heart. Looking over your shoulder there.
Yeah, I quit watching them because I kept seeing one video of just cars flipping all the time.
Speaking of
and
sandwiches.
Dylan Thornton standing up all the time. It's like I saw it for like a year and a half. What about sandwiches?
Getting hungry?
Did your mom ever cut the crust off of your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when you were a kid?
No.
You ate the crust? Or did you eat around the crust?
I've always been a crust guy.
Okay, just checking.
And
Where'd that come from?
White or wheat?
White.
Sourdough or rye?
Sourdough.
Do you like French toast?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you had your choice of pancakes, waffles, or French toast, which would it be?
French toast.
Pancake.
You're a pancake guy?
I am a
Waffle.
pancake.
I like French toast or waffles.
French toast.
Pancake with a lot of peanut butter on them.
Yes, I put peanut butter on my French
Yes.
toast.
On your French toast?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you know what I did as a kid? Sometimes I put
Bananas.
pepperonis. Pepperonis on French
Bananas,
toast. That's good.
Plenty of syrup and peanut butter. What brought that up?
I don't know. I just
Oh, shit.
That wasn't even a segue. You just jumped off the cliff there and went
God
an entirely
damn.
different direction.
Well, Brett asked me if I was tired. I mean, yeah, it kind of was like.
How long have we been talking?
We talked a lot about points, but that's good.
We're about our limit.
Kelly Shryock did call me on the way over today.
He did?
Yes, and he
What
was
did
asking
Kelly say?
about my race and how the format would work if inclement weather came about. I told him I didn't care because it's not going to rain. But then he did want to say that he did appreciate that for once you talked nice of him on the podcast.
For once? I don't think I've ever
You don't ever
talked
talk shit about him, do you?
bad
No,
about-
he did. He did say he goes. Everybody kept telling me, you kept talking about me. Where do I go watch these things at?
I don't think you've ever spoken ill
No,
about him.
I made that last part up.
One of the most memorable moments that I have personally, and I think I said this on our Super Nationals page, because I posted the race. Nicky Murray posted the race in 2001.
That was 2001.
2001. 4. I don't remember.
It was back in the 2000s,
early 2000s when Murray, Noble, and Shyrock all started up front at the Super Nationals.
Yep.
Murray was the dedicated IMCA guy. He's kicking the crap out of everybody racing IMCA mods in that time period.
Yep.
And you had Noble, who wasn't racing much IMCA, and Shyrock, who wasn't racing much IMCA. They were racing USMS stuff, so they come to the Super Nationals, and, to me, I was like, I want Murray to win. I mean, why wouldn't I want Murray to win? But there's nothing against Noble and nothing against Kelly. Not everybody races IMCA.
Yeah. But it is crazy, I always talk
Super
about
Nationals especially. We try to. There used to be a day when mod racing had a lot more crossover, and I talked about this just the other day. I'm trying to think who the hell I was talking to. There used to be a lot of crossover. You guys could just literally just go to different things. You could take a car across the sanctioning lines, and it wasn't a problem. That's all been ruined.
Yeah.
And people want to say we ruined it when we're the ones that aren't changing the rules. The rules haven't been changed in a way that's going to make our cars illegal. In fact, our cars, IMCA, when I say R, can go anywhere. You can race an IMCA in Wissota. You can race an IMCA in USRA. You can race an IMCA in UMP. You can race an IMCA in NASCAR in Corning, where they copy our rules 100%, call it NASCAR. You can race an IMCA modified all over the damn place, right? But you sure as shit can't take some of those other cars other places because those other associations got the rules, and we get blamed for this. It fascinates me. But anyhow, I'm getting off subject. Back to Shyrock, right?
Yeah.
Back to Shyrock.
Because you think about it, he's a guy, like him and Noble are guys that went full circle. They started racing IMCA, they went out, they ventured, but they've come back.
I mean, hell, Shyrock, he won his... He wins the Super Nationals in a stock car.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me 20 years ago anybody would have ever predicted that.
No, and all he's ever said is he wants to win it in modified.
I don't think so. Absolutely. And like I told him, and I said it in the last podcast, this place is going to go nuts if you win this race.
And it did.
And it did.
Oh,
It was
absolutely.
one of the loudest finishes I've ever heard
That
from
is
a crowd.
the loudest
Oh,
I've
my
ever
God,
heard a
yes.
crowd at Super
Absolutely.
Nationals. And the place was packed too. You know what I mean? It's not like there was crickets up there. I mean, there's some cool wins and cool places that we all have seen where the crowd hasn't been ideal.
Yeah.
But that is one of the coolest experiences I will ever have at the Super Nationals, seeing Kelly win that race like that. I thought it was cool as shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, hey, and talking about the Super Nationals, some good news.
What's that?
I think we can release this. We have finalized the lease agreement, and the 25 Super Nationals will be held at Boone Speedway.
They are?
Whoa! I didn't know there was talk it wasn't going to be.
You've been working on this behind the scenes, Jim?
Yeah.
I just want to say.
Now, is this Boone 1 or Boone 2?
I was worried that, we'd get into the middle of, let's say, August and not have everything finalized and have to move the event at the last minute.
Oh, God. I just picked up on what you're talking about.
Oh, I knew where he was going.
Jim.
Just saying.
Hey, I will tell you what, I got to see, we talked about it last podcast, but I got to see it in right there live and in person. What Wayne Becker did with Park Jefferson. Holy cow.
He built like a mountain of dirt and raced on it like 2 days later.
And that was a hell of a show.
I don't know how the hell he did that. He must have some serious equipment over there.
No, I think he just had people that didn't want to sleep and wanted to make it happen.
Knew the right
He has
people.
to have some serious
Yeah,
equipment.
you don't give Wayne Becker a challenge and expect it not to happen.
Yeah, he said somebody told him, well, you could never do that.
Well, let's be honest. We've seen racetracks, and Boone is one of them, because we put dirt on Boone, 2 weeks before the Super Nationals. And we didn't put a ton. It was like 25 loads or 23
That's
loads.
pretty good.
It was a good amount of dirt, but it wasn't no 7 feet of dirt. It wasn't even 7 inches of dirt.
It wasn't move a whole racetrack of
At
dirt.
the end of the day.
Crazy.
So you
I
have...
don't know if you know this or not, but they rebuilt turn 2, the backstretch, and turn 3.
I will admit, when Wayne started posting it on Facebook, I'm like, there ain't no way that's going to happen. There ain't no way.
No, it was a hell of a show. The racetrack was good. There was a lot of positive
It
feedback.
happened. Who the hell does that? Who builds a racetrack in a week and it works?
Yeah.
Wayne.
Wayne.
No shit. It's crazy. Kudos to him. I mean, I met Wayne, once or twice at the Super Nationals. Super nice guy. Very, very motivated guy. And he's a very smart guy, too. You can just tell by talking to him. You know, he's one of those guys you don't really tell him he can't do something because he'll do it. And
well, that was like,
it was a good example.
It got all done, and I go,
do you think we could get him to build another racetrack in Boone?
he could do it. Don't challenge him.
Well,
we need one in the
Mitch
field.
can't do this.
we can wait till like August, mid-August, and
So
then
there's
we'll see
hope.
if we can do it.
Yeah.
Wayne is our guy.
Hey, Wayne's racing Saturday.
Yeah, the old Charlie Clark.
Yeah. Former owner of Harris Auto Racing.
Mm-hmm.
For those that don't know that.
Yep.
It's a long
Little
time
history.
ago.
Yeah. Go back.
Up
when-
in Lamar's.
Yeah.
Right on the, I can't remember the highway. You drove right past it when you would go from like Lamar's over.
Yeah. So, what else you want to talk about?
Then there's a race in, where is it? Marshalltown? In like
Yeah.
what, November, January?
No, we might have a practice in December or something. Now we got the, end of the month.
Anything for a goddamn nickel.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm not. You kind of need to make a little money to.
He ain't making money on this podcast.
Yeah, I ain't making no money on that.
Not only doing 12 a year.
Yeah, the royalty rights are. Yeah, we better make more then. Yeah,
Right, you need to come over here more.
all right. Maybe I'll move over here.
You get royalties for this?
Royalties.
Oh shit! What
Coca
else?
this weekend. Well, depending on when Nate gets this edited and approved and stuff. Makokata this weekend. What else is
Yep.
racing?
Weather
Yeah,
looks
Southern
beautiful
Challenge.
this
Southern
weekend.
Challenge.
This
Down in
weekend.
Abilene.
Abilene. Yeah, they're still racing. If you want to race,
I
there's
can't believe
still
you didn't go to
places.
141 last weekend for the Car Wars with Darth Vader and the gang
I
up there.
was in Waco.
I
Last
know, I
weekend.
saw.
I had to go to Waco. I was supposed to go the weekend before because my wife's birthday. She likes to spend it in Waco. I was supposed to go the week before, which coincidentally enough is also the same weekend as the Ironman. But I was unable to go.
Yeah.
I was unable to go.
To the Ironman or to the birthday?
I went. But the Ironman.
You wouldn't
Okay,
be
just-
here if you wasn't there for
Yeah.
that.
I
Yeah.
didn't. It was a bad. It was unfortunate. The circumstances of that whole situation, though, was
Yeah.
bad. And for those who don't know, we had an employee here, Dan. His father passed away while they were on vacation, and it's awful. The circumstances of that are just awful. But his dad's funeral was Friday, October 4th, and so Virginia and I felt that we needed to be here for Dan.
Yeah.
So we stuck around for his father's funeral, and that ruined her birthday plans. She was unable to make it down there for her birthday that her friends had all planned. But then her best friend's father-in-law passed away, had a funeral as well. So I mean, it's kind of
Weird
crappy.
how things work.
It's kind of a crappy weekend, really, to be quite honest. And we went down last weekend. It's the week after instead, which is fine. She got to see her friends and family. That's what Virginia wants the most. So, but anyhow, back to Dan's father passing away. We've had a couple of incidents here that we should probably mention. First and foremost, I want to mention Carl Moyer passing away.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I can't. Carl is a one-of-a-kind individual, obviously. People who know him and know his accomplishments know that. And then, you get, us in the racing industry, too. Carl's support of IMCAs for many, many years. He was a huge advocate of dirt track racing in general with the truck division. He's just a very unique individual, and his passing is there's a lot of people he impacted, and a lot of
He
people are
left
gonna miss him.
Whether it was in racing or in the automobile industry, he left a big footprint. I mean,
The celebration
again, I
of
went-
life was at the dealership, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I don't
so
think
they
they
had
could find
this-
a
yeah.
venue big enough.
And then I went to the funeral on Monday, and there was probably 3 or 4 GM or Chevrolet execs at the meeting. Just got to catch up with some old dealership people, from different owners and stuff. It was, but yeah, it was kind of weird to get that text that evening that said Carl had passed away.
Yeah, very much so. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, obviously all his friends he had and all the people he touched. And again, we thank him.
In the community, so it's like a lot of people,
yeah.
whether it's Ankeny, Marshalltown, Story City, Webster City, Glidden. I mean, he's one of those guys that gave back to the community.
Yep.
He pretty much said, "Don't send me flowers, send money to this community organization. Take care of your community. That's what it's about." So.
Yeah, life is short.
What was neat was, I'd go in there a couple times, pick up some cars or what have you. he'd just be sitting in his office, walk in there, and I mean, it was just crazy, talking about 400 some odd employees that he managed, and
Yeah.
but just, I mean, he's just, I don't know how else to say it, just a normal guy, you know what I mean? Love to talk racing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was over at Carl's, I don't know, 2, 3, it was like a couple days before his passing, I believe, if I remember correctly. Bought a Tahoe. I was over getting one for myself. They sell a lot of vehicles over there. Everyone over there is very good to deal with, too.
Yeah. A great group of people. I mean, all their dealerships.
The salespeople,
All their
the
dealerships
car
are great.
stuff, the truck side of things, all that. Everybody over there, it's top notch. I mean, it's impressive to watch how that place operates. To be quite honest.
You worked over there.
Yeah, I worked in service. I worked in the body shop for him a couple times.
But then you go back to the Carl performance side of things, and the speed shop, and the engine, and, in the Carl's customs stuff that they're doing with Corvettes, and all the guys over there that we know that have been in the industry for many years are all super nice guys too. It's just he's going to be missed by a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's
Be missed by a lot of people. We also had a gentleman named Donnie Hicks pass away. Not that long ago. Was it this week or?
Yeah.
A week ago, I think.
Donnie was his father Tommy ran Grayson County, right, Jim?
Yeah, Mark's right-hand man in Grayson County, you know, all the meetings we ever had, Tommy was a part of them. Tommy, just a fixture down in that area at racetracks.
Yeah.
And
Donnie was last year's modified track champion at Grayson County, which
I
again,
think second this year.
yeah, and for those that don't know the Grayson County scene, Grayson County is the longest sanctioned IMCA racetrack in the state of Texas. It was the very first back when Benny Busby had the place.
So, yeah. They
And if
had
you
their
don't-
50th anniversary race last Saturday night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
and
place
if you-
has been around for a long time, and that's a cool ass racetrack.
I remember the first time I went.
Yeah.
The first time I went to Grayson County, we're going down this 2-lane road, and I'm like, "Where are we going?" And then all of a sudden, you turn off this little 2-lane road onto this. I mean, literally cow path, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"How are we going to get toters in here?" And all of a sudden, you just turn, you come under this arch, and then boom, here's this
it's like a
beautiful
path with
racetrack.
trees going over the road and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, you're
Like,
scraping. That's scraping the top of the trucks and trailers.
take a left-hand turn in the facility, and at the time, for many years, Benny Busby lived right there in the house. You
It's like Betty Busby Lane. I
You
think
like
is the
drove
I
name
think
of
that
it.
is. You're right.
You drove right through his yard to get to the racetrack. It was kind of crazy,
That's
but
a neat little place.
yeah, it is. And again, our sympathies go out to all of Donnie's family and friends, and obviously especially to Tommy and again, like
His
I said, life is short.
His
It
wife
really
is a track photographer there, and they're just
They're pretty ingrained in racing,
exactly.
So what else you want to talk about? We did have Tracy Wassenberg pass away, and I don't
Yep,
know if we
Tracy.
mentioned that.
I don't think we. I can't remember.
I don't think we mentioned that.
Right after Supernatural,
It was right before.
Right before.
right within Supernatural.
So it might have been in between our last.
Yeah, Sport Mod, Supernationals
Yeah,
champion.
it was a fixture in sport mod racing up there in that,
Yeah, he
that
was the
Green
guy
Bay,
from-
Luxembourg, Shawano,
Yeah, for many years he was the guy to beat up there.
Yeah.
In an area that's got a shitload of cars.
the old Batman 30.
And Tracy wasn't very, very, very old either. So he just, hate to see that stuff happen. Life is too short. So, what else?
Absolutely.
Anything else you guys think of?
Let's see. There's a lot of things I can think of.
We need to do
Don't
more
come to me.
podcasts. We've been talking about this. Wrap this
Yeah.
up. We need to do more podcasts.
Well, but now we're getting into the time of year where, we've got
Nothing to do.
shows. Well, no.
Everybody's going different directions.
In fact, I'm going to be, what time is it? I got a flight here in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Go up to Michigan.
Again?
Michigan promoters meeting.
Jim is not human when it comes to
Well, we've known that.
Travel
Jim's
and-
not human
his
at all.
travels and his dedication to IMCA. IMCA would have a very different footprint without Jim's effort. He just goes everywhere. I can't thank him enough. I tell him all the time behind the scenes, thank for all he does for IMCA. People like, hey, I saw that some guy named Jim called me, and I saw that guy named Jim at the track last week, and Jim. I'm like, yep, that's him.
It is hockey season, though. Jim.
I know
It
it.
is hockey
I know
season.
it.
Ryan went to the home opener. I missed the home opener for the Wild.
You did?
Yeah. I have to go
I sat
on.
with Jackie.
Yep,
No, I didn't
section
sit
101.
with- I didn't sit with Jackie, but I was there.
No, it's hockey season.
I used to watch hockey. I don't watch near as much of it anymore.
Oh God, best time of the year.
Just not as exciting. It's like watching golf. You got
What?
golf. I like
like
golf.
watching golf, too.
I like golf. I like hockey. I like almost all sports. But they've ruined golf. Golf is so messed up right now. It
With
really
live?
is. This live shit is just. It's just.
I don't even know what you're talking about because I don't watch it. So could you explain to the uneducated individual what that is?
It's just.
Different
I don't even wanna get
sanctioning
into
body
it.
that screwed shit up.
It's just.
Oh, okay, I got it.
What in the hell are they trying to do? That's just the way I look at it. Again, I like to play golf. Golf's fun.
I think they should just let them
Golf's
play
one of those
golf
sports
like
you can play
normal
forever.
people play golf. Just ride around in the cart and drink and
But
smoke.
college football
John
is getting
Daly.
interesting with this.
John
whole,
Daly.
Yeah, exactly.
Just out there with a big old.
That's why you gotta like golf.
Come
'cause you got
on.
guys like John Daly. He's out there playing golf barefooted. I'm like, what in the world?
Smoking and
Barefoot
drinking.
with
That's
a
how it
beer
should
and a
be.
smoke.
Hold my beer. What the hell? But it's like college football is getting kind of interesting too. And again, we're getting off track. College
That's okay.
football's
We don't
getting
always have
kinda-
to talk about racing.
is getting kind of interesting with all this like structure they're going to have to start giving it and all the weird things that are going on. It's interesting to watch some of the coaches speak on what they think should happen and
Oh,
things.
NIL,
With
and the
NIL and-
Yeah,
transfer.
with the NIL and the transfers. and
Realignment.
when does college football become, I mean, it's pretty much there, like another NHL just with younger people or NFL.
NFL.
With younger
Yeah.
people in it, What's next? Are they going to start paying college kids or high school kids? You know what I mean?
They already are. They already are.
Where does it stop? You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's no wonder that that's why you see people have 3-year-olds playing football and stuff like that. It's like, what are we doing here? But whatever. Just not that guy.
I mean, I think something needed to be done to pay the kids, but
Oh, you were already paying
I
them on
think-
scholarships.
All that doesn't
Oh, don't
matter.
give me that
Don't
crap.
even.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
bunch
kinda
of bullshit. That's
yeah, it's a bunch of they get a free education.
Yeah, they do.
But
It
they're
wasn't very
bringing-
good before because you got Kurt Ferentz who's making like $7 or $8 million a year, and
Yeah.
then you got college kids who are the true stars of the game, really getting paid shit. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But I mean, this is just interesting when you look at how this is going on with college and the NIL, and then you get into the live situation again. Money is what's driving that.
But it's
whole
our
live
society that drives it. It's
Yeah,
it's who we
exactly.
are
It's
as a
like-
people. So we can't.
And we deal with this. This is why it's interesting back on our end as well, because we deal with this in racing as well. Because obviously we talk about money all the time and purses and what things cost, and But generally speaking, at our level within IMCA is a hobby. It really is. That's what we built our association on, is the hobby racer, not the professional racer who's trying to.
We're like high school football.
Right. So I mean, it's starting to get really blurry in some of these other sporting things, and obviously we have our moments where it's even getting blurry within IMCA ranks with the stock cars. Just use it as an example. We talked about it earlier. Look at how many guys aren't racing for track championships in a stock car. They're just racing for money. They just go where the money's at. And it's things like that. All like. It starts changing things, you as people behind the scenes that are dealing with it, you look at it like, okay, how do we address some of this stuff? When is it good for the sport? When is it bad for the sport? And I just think there's really good examples of that right now with the PGA. There's really good examples of that with college football, on what money's driving, and then the perspectives people have, I don't know.
Yep.
It's interesting.
Interesting.
Food for thought, I guess.
Oh, speaking of food, it's about lunch.
But at the end of the day, we don't want people racing for watermelons. I mean, that gets out a lot, but we don't. It's
we
not.
want you to race for a horn of
We'll
plenty.
give you a
with
watermelon
all
for a
kinds-
trophy,
We want you
but
to
you
race for
also-
a horn of plenty.
We get you a watermelon for a
Cornucopia.
trophy, but we also give you money too. You can pick it up at the pit shack. Actually, you don't have to wait 3 weeks for it, or a month.
We've got that
when you
express
drive by the pay
express-
window, stop.
express tire testing.
Yeah. So.
Oh, could we work on that?
So.
Or we could
But
just
yeah, I
test
mean,
tires right there.
The,
at
the
track.
subject of money makes everything so interesting. It really does.
Yes, I mean we're trained to know that we need this to survive. It's important in our society and our lives day to day. But we're gonna restrict you from being able to make it.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
But there need to be rules and regulations for everything.
All right, we're going to pay you all this, but then we're going to take some of it back to help pay for this.
Right.
Like a Whataburger combo meal.
Number one.
Ah,
Did you know Mahomes owns 5 Whataburgers in
yeah,
Kansas City?
that's
Jim?
the only thing that's decent about
And you don't like
Whataburgers.
Whataburger. You like bleed red or orange.
I was down there for the Monday night game, the last game.
You didn't eat
and,
Whataburger.
Didn't eat
You
Whataburger.
probably drove right past it. He's supposed to open up 30 of them before the.
Why can't he open one in Des Moines?
2028. He's supposed to have 30 of them. That's what it says on the website. I looked it up.
Why are like Whataburgers and Waffle Houses and good places like that only limited to
around
south
us.
of Iowa?
Yeah. Okay.
Why
Waffle
can't
House
they?
is in and out.
Because Texans don't want it to come out of Texas. It's got to stay in Texas.
But it's in Kansas City. Why can't it just keep coming north?
There's so many good
Wahlburgers
things
is
in
out
Texas.
of the Hy-Vee downtown. Maybe we could put a Whataburger
You know
in
what?
there.
The
Iowa needs
Wahlburgers
to
is
do?
out of most of the Hy-Vees anymore.
You know what Iowa needs to do? Iowa needs to have a Terry Blacks. Jim knows what
Okay,
Terry
you're
Blacks is.
talking now.
Okay, now, yeah.
I mean, I like barbecue. I like Kansas City barbecue. There's some good barbecue places in
Terry
Kansas City.
Black's.
But Terry Black has got his shit figured out. I'm telling
Nah,
you.
I'm going to tell you what. Black's is good, but
It's good stuff.
Porky Butts isn't far
In
behind.
Omaha. Right?
Yep.
In
Yep,
Omaha.
absolutely.
These are all
You make there.
these are all competition barbecue guys too that are bringing back their secrets. And
Did your mom make it through the hurricane?
my mom made it through the hurricane. They moved all their patio furniture. My mom lives in Orlando, for people who don't know this. My mom and dad moved all of their patio furniture into the middle of their house. I'm like, in your house? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, why'd you do that? She goes, well, we don't want it to blow away. And I'm like, well, it's in the lanai or out in their screen porch. Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, but if they're saying 100-mile-an-hour winds, so they moved like everything outside inside. And then they didn't really get that bad. It was like 50 or 60-mile-an-hour winds where my parents live in Orlando. It really wasn't bad. It just rained for like 2 days. And they're high, so they don't have any of that flooding that was going on with some of the other stuff. But I don't know. You look at that hurricane stuff and some of that damage.
That's
and
crazy stuff.
Why on God's green earth would you want to live along the coast and go through that?
Yeah, but those people that live down there, why would you want to live in the Midwest? Them tornadoes come through there like 3 times a month.
I suppose.
Yeah, I don't.
I chance it.
You chance it.
Chance it living on the coast.
Boy, I mean, I if I could like choose a profession besides what I'm doing, it'd probably be like have a fishing boat.
I thought it was lawn care is what you've
somewhere
always said.
and go
Now you want to
fishing
be,
every day.
now you want to be a Lieutenant Dan, a fishing boat charter guy, Bubba Gump?
It would go fish. I would enjoy fishing every day. I don't get seasick or any of that stuff. I enjoy
Crab
that.
fishing.
I don't know. I want to fish. I want to like fish for like snappers. Is that what they call them? Red snapper,
Yeah, you can. Yeah, snapper,
grouper, that kind of
marlins,
stuff. Yeah, marlin.
swordfish,
Swordfish.
But it's fishing.
sword.
I went fishing with my daughter a couple weekends ago. Oh my gosh. She's like, Dad, they aren't biting. I'm like, it's called fishing, Kennedy. They're not going to bite every time you throw it in there. She's so impatient. It's terrible. But
That's
that's
why I
probably
could
what I would
never-
be like.
I could
I
never
buy a
fish.
boat and move down there and not catch a damn fish. That'd be my luck. But anyhow. Yeah, living on the coast, I don't know.
I could live down there.
No, we better get.
What else?
We better go find some fishing boats and
I'm
get
getting
out of this.
hungry now.
Yeah,
All this food talk.
Whataburger #1 with cheese.
I was hoping for some like
And a Dr.
grouper
Pepper.
or snapper. To be honest with you, fish sounded really good too.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go eat my barbecue from Sunday.
I'm going to my mother's eating a home cooked meal.
Show off, Jim. You're just showing off now.
Yeah, Jim showing off. You could have just came to the office with it and fed us all, but nope, that's not the way it works around here.
He's got a plane to catch.
Yeah.
Got a plane to catch.
They fly to Cedar Rapids.
Well, let's try to do another podcast in a week or two.
Let's go to every other week because next week I'm kind of busy.
We'll talk about next week.
Week
We already
after,
talked about so much shit
you'll
today.
do one without me.
Oh yeah, Ryan's going on vacation.
You're going on a cruise.
All you do is take vacations.
Who says that?
I don't know. They say that about me, so I had to say it about you.
I took an extended weekend and
I am going on
March.
vacation the week after you're going on vacation.
So our next podcast.
Next
picking up the
podcast
We'll
will
see
be in
at the banquet.
2024.
at the banquet.
So
February 19th.
Now we'll be in Florida
Maybe
then.
this is why.
So this is what happened. So do you get drunk on like Friday nights during the race when the racing season isn't going on and end up buying a vacation to go do something with your friends?
No.
that's
No,
what
but
I
it
do.
sounds like you do.
That's what my wife did. So I guess we're going on vacation.
The week after I get back?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're going on a cruise, though. Those are fun. Caribbean cruises are fun.
I've never been on one.
They're fun. They really are. They aren't all for old people. There's a lot of old people on there.
Well, yeah.
But it's fun. You can have a lot of fun going on cruises to different ports. We're going to Cancun with some friends. Scott Hogan, Joe Lynn Hogan, some friends of the family. They go every year. He's like the godfather of Cancun now.
Now, did Scott get drunk and book this trip, or did Virginia get booked? Or did
My
they
wife
both?
got drunk with Scott's wife, Joe Lynn, and somehow we bought it. We put the deposit down, I guess, that night at the Mexican restaurant here in like January of this year. But anyhow. All right. So we'll do a podcast again sometime before the National Banquet. We're going to do one at the National Banquet too, I think, right? Right, Nate? I'd really like to get back to, I'd like to
Can I do it just like I did it last year?
I'd like to get some interviews of our champions at the banquet and do some live stuff if we could this year. I think that a lot of people like that. We did that a couple of years. Didn't do it the last couple.
Yeah, but we need to like limit it to like an hour.
We have to have somebody that'll interview them. Are you going to do that?
I don't care. But I think we interview them in different parts of the museum.
But don't you two do the
No, we're talking about the banquet.
Yeah.
Oh, at the
Saturday
banquet.
night, do it
At the
interviews, I
banquet.
think.
Oh, I did it that one. We didn't do it live, but we'll be on the stage. So, I mean, we'd have to do it.
Maybe Jim could do it.
I'm out.
Oh, that'd be fun.
No.
Maybe get Ben or somebody to do it for us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Bobcat wants to come in and be on the next
There
one.
you go.
Get the Bobcat.
Can the Bobcat come to the next podcast?
We're going to have a censor button.
I think Bobcat's on the next one.
Every other word starts with the F. Out of the Bobcat.
Every other wood. Bud. Hey, bud. How you doing, bud?
Bud.
It's like talking to Lottie, huh?
Bud.
The
Get a hat that
podcast room
says-
is no smoking, so he's out.
Hey, bud.
Hey, bud.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a smoke break if Jonathan comes. We talk too much. All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right, go find a race. If you can't find a race, it's on IMCA TV.
Watch live.
Watch live. Or maybe you
Replay.
didn't go to a race and you want to go to back and watch it. You can get the replay pass.
Correct.
And you can do all that stuff at IMCA TV. So we're out of here. It's time to go get sandwiches.
Happy Halloween.
Spooky trick-or-treating. Now I want candy and sandwiches. See ya.